Her lungs forgot how to work the night the elevator trapped her between floors. Then a stranger's hands hovered inches from her skin, his voice counting every ragged breath like it could pull her back from the edge. She thought he was only saving her from one panic attack, until his first slow kiss taught her body a truth it had never believed. Before we dive in, make sure to hit subscribe, tap like, and share this video. The more voices we reach, the louder these stories become. And drop your city in the comments. Let's see where love finds us. By the time Alara Quinn realized she couldn't breathe, she was already on the floor of her own hallway. It started the way it always did now, small things collapsing into an avalanche. The click of her apartment door locking behind her. The muffled hum of the elevator down the hall. A neighbor's laugh traveling through thin walls. None of it was dangerous, her brain knew that. But her body didn't care. Her chest pulled tight, like someone had cinched a belt beneath her ribs. Air turned thick, sticky. Her vision fuzzed at the edges. She dug her nails into the strap of her tote bag until her fingers hurt. Not here. Not in the hallway. Please, not here. She was too big to be invisible. That was the first cruel thought. Her thick hips, soft belly, curves pressed against the fitted dress she'd forced herself into. She could feel every inch of herself. Too much of herself, taking up too much space. If she slid down the wall, someone would see. They would see all of her and the panic and the mess. But her knees were shaking. The carpet blurred. The overhead light buzzed like a swarm of bees. Alara? The voice came from the left, low and warm, shaped around her name like he'd practiced it. Of course it would be him. Malik Hayes stood in the open doorway of 4B, one hand braced on the frame, the other holding a grocery bag that strained around cartons of eggs and a bunch of green onions sticking out the top. He wore a simple black t-shirt and grey sweats, bare feet on the hallway carpet, skin the deep brown of dark coffee. His shoulders took up the doorway like it was built just for him. He was the kind of man who made people turn their heads twice, tall, solid, quiet, with eyes that saw too much and said too little. Alara had spent weeks pretending she didn't notice him. Weeks pretending she hadn't heard his late-night R&B playlist through the wall or smelled whatever he cooked that always made her microwave dinners feel like insults. She tried to answer him and got only a wheeze. Her throat closed harder. His gaze sharpened. The relaxed line of his mouth vanished. The grocery bag hit the floor with a dull thud. In 3 long strides he was in front of her, dropping to a crouch like kneeling didn't cost him anything at all. "Hey!" he said softly, not loud, not alarmed, gentle, like he was talking to a spooked animal. "You with me?" She shook her head because no, she wasn't. Her heart slammed so hard it hurt. Sweat slid down between the curve of her breasts under the tight band of her bra. Humiliation burned every inch of her pale skin. He didn't touch her. That was the first thing she noticed through the roar in her ears. He stayed just out of reach, hands open, palms up, close enough that she could see the faint scars across his knuckles, far enough that she could bolt if she needed to. "Okay," Malik murmured, like they were already in a conversation. "Looks like a panic attack." She hated the words, panic attack, like she was weak, broken. "Can't," she choked, "can't breathe." "You are," he said, and his voice was steady enough she wanted to lean into it. "Not the way you want to yet, but you are. I'm going to ask you to do something a little weird with me, okay?" Tears stung her eyes. She nodded because she couldn't do anything else. "Good. Look at me, Alara." She did. His eyes were dark, almost black, framed by lashes she would have envied on a better day. There was no pity in them, just focus. A small line tugged between his brows like her pain physically bothered him. "Forget big breaths," he said quietly. "They'll just make you feel worse. We're going to go small. Little sips." She swallowed, the hallway spinning slow. "In through your nose for 4, he guided, his voice a low rhythm. He lifted his hand, fingers counting silently in the air. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 2. Easy. 1, 2. Out through your mouth for 6, like you're blowing out candles. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. She tried. The first breath hitched, broke in the middle, came out as a sob. "That's okay," he said immediately. "That's still air." Again, with me. He breathed so she could see it, the subtle expansion of his chest beneath the t-shirt, the slow rise and fall that matched his counting. She focused on that instead of the light, the carpet, the imaginary eyes of the whole building watching her. In 2, 3, 4. Air slid into her lungs in thin streams, her fingers loosened on the bag strap. Hold, 1, 2. Her heartbeat was still too loud, but it wasn't a runaway train anymore. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His hand marked time between them, steady, patient. They went again, and again. The roaring faded to a dull rush. The buzzing light softened. Her vision narrowed down to Malik's face, the scar along his jaw she'd never noticed before, the way his mouth tipped up at one corner when she managed a smoother exhale. "There you go," he whispered. "You're doing all the work. I'm just the metronome." A shaky laugh clawed its way out of her chest. It turned into another breath. "Good," he said. "That's good." Laughing's advanced level. Her knees finally gave and she slid down the wall. He shifted with her without touching, moving like he'd done this dance before. When she hit the carpet, he sat too, back against the opposite wall, long legs stretched out, mirroring her posture like they were just two neighbors hanging out instead of one woman crumbling in a hallway. The panic loosened its grip by inches. She could feel her own weight again, the full curve of her thighs pressing against the dress, the softness of her hips, the way her body settled heavy and real beneath her. Usually that awareness made her want to disappear. Now it grounded her. She was still here. "Sorry," she whispered, voice raw. "You didn't sign up for this." He tilted his head, studying her like she'd said something confusing. "I live next door. I signed up for whatever happens in this hallway." She snorted, and another breath followed, easier this time. "It's not usually this dramatic." "Shame," he murmured. "I like knowing my neighbors are interesting." She glanced up, ready to make a joke, and froze under the warmth in his eyes. Not heat like hunger, not yet, but something steady and careful, like he was wrapping a blanket around a shivering person. "How long have these been happening?" he asked softly. She looked away, tracing a stain in the carpet. "Since the accident," she said. "Since the car." He waited, not pushing, not filling the silence, just being there, filling the hallway with his quiet presence until the words didn't feel like they'd cut her open anymore. "My ex fell asleep at the wheel," she managed. "We hit a guardrail. I woke up upside down, hanging from my seatbelt. Couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Everything smelled like gasoline and burnt rubber and—" Her throat closed again, but this time in memory, not panic. Malik's hand flexed on his knee. "Damn." "He walked away with a scratch," she said bitterly. "Told me afterward I was being dramatic, that I just liked making scenes. So now my brain thinks, I don't know, every hallway is a guardrail waiting to happen." "He was an idiot," Malik said, calm and absolute, "and your brain is doing the best it can to protect you with very bad data." She huffed something that wanted to be a laugh. "You sound like a therapist." "Occupational hazard," he said. "I teach breathing and trauma-informed movement at the community center on 9th. Of course he did. Of course the man with the steady voice and the grocery bag and the R&B playlists taught people how to breathe. He shifted a little closer, still not touching, just enough that she could feel the heat of him. "Can I try something?" he asked. "You can say no. You're allowed." Her heart jumped for a different reason now. "What?" "You're already breathing better," he said. "But your body's still waiting for the next hit. Sometimes it helps to give it a new story to attach the breath to." She blinked. "That sounds vague." His mouth curved. "I'm lousy at marketing. What I mean is, sometimes a safe touch, a grounding one, can rewrite what your brain thinks comes after a panic." Her pulse fluttered. She knew what he was asking before he finished. "I'm not talking about anything you're not ready for," he said. His voice dropped, warm and slow, but careful. "But if I kissed you, slow, no rush, it could give your body something new to remember with this hallway, something softer than guardrails and burnt rubber." Alara stared at him, breath hitching again, not from panic this time, but from the ache of how much she wanted that and how terrifying it felt to admit it. "You'd just—" she swallowed. "You'd just do that, for me?" He held her gaze, no flinch, no joke to break the tension. "I'd do it with you, not for you. Only if you want it, only if the answer is yes." Her chest rose, fell. Air moved, slow, controlled. His breathing pattern had woven into hers without her noticing. "Yes," she heard herself say, quiet but sure. "I want that." He moved closer, slow enough she could change her mind at every inch. One knee slid beside her hip. His hand lifted, hovering near her cheek, giving her a chance to lean in or pull away. She leaned. His palm cupped the side of her face, warm and broad, fingers disappearing into her hair. He held her like she was something important, not fragile exactly, but worthy of care. His thumb brushed once along her jaw, a question. She answered by closing the last distance. The kiss was nothing like the frantic, hungry thing she'd known before. Malik's mouth was soft, sure, moving with the same rhythm as his breathing counts. His lips met hers, then paused, giving her a moment to feel, to choose, to breathe. In. His lower lip slid against hers, slow and warm. Out. Her hand found the solid plane of his chest, the steady thud of his heart under her palm. He was so close, and yet there was no rush, no pushing, just the slow, careful press of his mouth guiding hers into something that felt like exhaling after holding her breath for years. He pulled back a fraction, their foreheads touching, breath mingling. "That," he murmured, voice roughened now, "is what you get to remember next time your brain lies to you about hallways." Her lips tingled. Her chest felt full, not tight. For the first time since the accident, breathing didn't feel like work. "Again," she whispered, surprising herself. "Teach me again." His soft chuckle brushed her mouth. "We've got time," Malik said. "One slow kiss at a time, yeah?" She breathed in, breathed out, and didn't feel like she was drowning. With his forehead resting against hers, and his hand still steady on her cheek, Alara realized something terrifying and beautiful. For the first time in a long time, she wanted tomorrow. The next morning, Alara woke up with the taste of him still on her lips. For a few blurry seconds, she thought she'd dreamed it. The hallway, the panic, the way his mouth had moved against hers like a slow, steady tide. Then she shifted on the mattress and felt the faint ache in her cheeks where she'd cried, and the soreness in her throat from gasping for air, and it all came back. She lay there staring at the ceiling, the early light painting soft rectangles across the white paint. Her apartment was quiet, too quiet. No traffic noise from a hospital window, no heart monitor beeping, no ex-boyfriend scrolling beside her and telling her to calm down, it's not that deep. Just her heartbeat, and the memory of Malik Hayes kneeling in a hallway like she was worth staying with. Her cheeks warmed. Thick thighs tangled in the sheets. She rolled onto her side and pressed her fingers to her mouth. The kiss had been gentle, yes, but there'd been nothing uncertain about it. He'd kissed her like he knew what he was doing and like he cared whether she felt safe every step of the way. No one had ever done that before. Through the wall, faintly, she heard music, a low, smooth R&B track. Malik was awake. Of course he was. The man probably woke up already calm. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She flinched, then reached for it. A text from an unknown number blinked up at her. "Hey, neighbor. It's Malik from 4B. Your hallway emergency contact, apparently." Her stomach flipped. Another bubble appeared. "If this is weird, tell me to lose your number and I will. I just wanted to check in. How's your breathing this morning?" Alara stared at the words. Her first instinct was to apologize for being dramatic, to make a joke, to minimize. She stopped herself. His voice from the night before slid through her mind. "You're doing all the work, I'm just the metronome." She took one slow breath, in for 4, out for 6, then typed, "Breathing, not glamorous but successful. Also, hi, and thank you for yesterday." The reply came fast. "Successful breathing is extremely glamorous, actually. I stand by this." A smile tugged at her mouth. Her fingers hovered. "So, do you just rescue random women in hallways and kiss them, or am I special?" She cringed the second she sent it. Too much, too flirty, too her. The typing dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "You are absolutely special," he sent back. Heat flooded her chest. "But for the record, the hallway rescue part is kind of my job. I meant what I said about teaching breath at the community center. I'm leading a small class tonight. Nothing fancy. We go slow, lots of modifications. You'd fit right in." Her gaze dropped to her body. The way her soft stomach curved under the oversized t-shirt, the stretch marks on her hips, the fullness of her thighs. Fit right in. He had no idea. She typed, "I'm not exactly class material." His answer took longer this time. When it came, it was a wall of text. "Class material equals human with lungs, some kind of nervous system, and at least one thing they're tired of pretending doesn't hurt. That's all. Dress code is whatever makes it easier to breathe. No mirrors, no judgment." She exhaled, not realizing she'd been holding her breath. "What if I panic?" she wrote. "Then I'll be there," he replied. "We'll ride it out." Same way we did last night, one breath at a time. The part of her that wanted to stay curled under the covers argued hard. Stay small, stay safe, stay home. But something else, stubborn, hungry, freshly awake, pushed back. She'd promised herself after the accident that if she ever got a second chance, she wouldn't waste it. Maybe second chances didn't look like grand gestures and dramatic speeches. Maybe they looked like a community centre on 9th and a man who counted for her while she forgot how. She typed with shaking fingers, "Text me the address, I'll try." By 6:30 that evening, she was standing outside a low brick building with a faded mural on one wall and a Community Wellness Night banner drooping over the door. The sky was sliding toward dusk, the air warm and thick, city noise a soft hum in the background. Alara tugged at the hem of her black leggings. Every insecurity she owned screamed at once. Her curves were on display, her thick hips outlined, the soft swell of her backside not exactly subtle. The loose green top she'd chosen flowed over her belly, but she still felt exposed, like the world could see every place she didn't match the magazine versions of fit. You're going to be the biggest woman in the room. They'll stare. They'll judge. The old voice. The one that sounded a lot like her ex. Before it could sink its claws in, her phone vibrated. "I'm by the front desk," Malik texted. "No pressure. But if you're outside talking yourself out of it, consider this a gentle shove." Her laugh came out more like a huff. Busted. She pushed the door open. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed over scuffed floors. A couple of flyers curled on a bulletin board. The air smelled like cleaning spray and something vaguely floral. A few people milled around, a tired-looking nurse in scrubs, an older man in sweatpants, a teenage girl clinging to a water bottle like it was armor. And Malik. He stood by a folding table with a sign-in sheet and a plastic donation jar, talking quietly to an elderly woman. He wore a black tank top this time, loose grey joggers, sneakers. His muscles were more visible now, the strong curve of his shoulders, the thickness of his forearms, the easy way he took up space. He turned as if he felt her before he saw her, and their eyes met. For a heartbeat, the room fell away. Something like relief flashed across his face. Then his mouth curved, slow and genuine. "You made it," he said when she reached him. "Barely," she replied. "I had a heated debate with my anxiety in the parking lot." "Who won?" She lifted one shoulder. "You're looking at the sore loser." His eyes warmed. "Then I'm glad you're stubborn." He didn't reach for her, didn't pull any grand gesture, just pointed toward the open door of the multi-purpose room. "Come on, I'll introduce you to the floor." Inside, yoga mats of random colors lined the space. There were no mirrors, just a few posters about stress and sleep hygiene taped crookedly to the cinder block walls. Soft instrumental music played from a speaker in the corner. "Pick any mat," Malik said. "Front, back, middle. There are no gold stars, I promise." She chose one near the side wall, half hidden but not completely out of view. As people filtered in, she realized something that made her shoulders drop an inch. Nobody here looked like a fitness ad. Bodies of all sizes, ages, colors, a woman with a knee brace, a guy with tattoos and a dad belly, the teen girl in an oversized hoodie. They all looked tired, human. Malik stepped to the front, rolled his shoulders back, and the room quieted without him having to ask. "Hey, y'all," he said. "You know the drill. This is not about doing it right. It's about being here in your skin for 1 hour without apologizing for it." Alara's throat tightened. "We're going to start with breath," he continued, "because breath is where the body tells the truth." As he led them through the same pattern he'd used in the hallway, inhale for 4, hold for 2, exhale for 6, Alara found the rhythm faster this time. His voice wrapped around the counts, low and sure. The rise and fall of the room's collective breathing created a strange, gentle chorus. Her mind still wandered. To the accident, to the guardrail, to being upside down, stuck in her own body. But each time the images sharpened, Malik's words cut through. "If your brain wanders to scary places, let it. You don't have to fight it. Just keep your breath. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2. Out, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your body is here. Your fear is a story trying to keep you safe. You get to rewrite it." By the time they shifted to simple stretches and slow, supported movements, her heartbeat had settled. She still felt big, soft, visible. But it didn't burn. It didn't feel like a crime. It felt like her. After class, people lingered to chat, to thank him, to drop a few bills in the jar. Malik took every word like a gift. No false modesty, no spotlight grabbing, just steady presence. When the room emptied, he walked over to her mat, towel slung around his neck. "How's your breathing now?" he asked. "Confused," she admitted, sitting cross-legged, the curve of her hips spilling comfortably over the mat. "In a good way." His mouth tipped up. "That's fair." She hesitated, fingers knotting in the hem of her top. "About last night?" His expression softened instantly. "We can talk about it, or not. Your call." "Do you regret it?" she blurted, flinching at her own bluntness. He crouched beside her, close enough that she could see the faint sheen of sweat along his hairline. "No," he said simply. "I don't regret kissing you. I do care about not letting it be a bandage I slap over your panic. I want you to know how to breathe even if I'm not in the hallway." Her chest ached at the thought of him not being there. "What if I want both?" she whispered. "The breathing and the bandage." He huffed out a quiet laugh. "Then we're going to build it slow. No rush. No fixing you. Just one breath, one choice, one slow kiss at a time. If that's what you want." She held his gaze, heart beating fast but not wildly. "It is." He walked her home after, the city dim around them, streetlights throwing long shadows on the pavement. When they reached their building, she stopped in front of the elevator and stared at the closed doors, her palms dampened, her lungs fluttered. "I usually take the stairs," she admitted. "Less metal box of death." "Stairs are valid," he said. "We can do stairs." She bit her lip. "What if we try the elevator? Just once. With you." He pressed the button without comment. When the doors slid open, her pulse spiked, but she stepped in anyway. The small space closed around them. The hum of the cables rattled overhead. The familiar surge of panic rose hot, electric. "Look at me," Malik said quietly. She did. His body filled the doorway, solid and grounded. "In for 4, he murmured. "Just like earlier. You're not upside down. You're not trapped. You're in a box with a man who thinks you're brave as hell." Her cheeks flushed. She breathed with him. In. Hold. Out. The elevator jerked into motion. Her hand shot out, fingers catching his forearm. He didn't flinch. "Yeah," he said softly. "Hold on to me if you want." By the time the doors dinged open on their floor, her knees were shaky, but she was still upright, still breathing. At her door, they stopped. The hallway felt different tonight. Less like a tunnel leading back to a crash, more like a narrow bridge between old stories and new ones. "Graduation kiss?" she asked, surprising both of them. Her voice wobbled, but the want in it was clear. His eyes darkened, not with hunger exactly, but with something deeper. "You sure?" "Yes," she whispered. "I want to remember this hallway for something good." This time, when he leaned in, she met him halfway. His hand found her waist, fingers curving over the generous line of her hip like he liked the way she filled his palm. His other hand cupped her jaw. The kiss was unhurried again, but warmer now, layered with everything they'd just done. The class, the elevator, the choice to be here. His mouth moved against hers in a slow, steady rhythm that matched the breath he'd taught her. In. His lips parted, inviting, not demanding. Out. She sank into him, feeling the solid wall of his chest, the safety in the way he held her without pulling her closer than she wanted to go. When they finally broke apart, her lungs were full. Her body still trembled, but it wasn't fear. "Same time next week?" he asked, voice low. "Class, I mean, and whatever this is at your pace." She smiled, lips tingling. "I'll be there," she said, "for the breathing and for the advanced coursework." His laugh rumbled between them, warm and full. "Sleep well, Ilara," Malik murmured. "You've earned it." As she stepped into her apartment and leaned back against the closed door, heart thrumming, she realized something simple and enormous. She wasn't just surviving her breaths anymore. She was starting to want them. 2 weeks later, Ilara stood in front of her bedroom mirror in a black wrap dress and tried not to pass out from nerves. The dress hugged every curve, full hips, soft belly, the deep line of her waist. Her cleavage rose like a quiet declaration above the V-neck. A month ago, she would have called it a mistake. Today, she was trying to call it a choice. Her phone buzzed. "You outside?" She smiled despite her churning stomach. "You pacing holes in the sidewalk already?" "Pretty much," came Malik's reply. "No pressure, remember? Door's a suggestion, not a command." She grabbed her bag, slid her phone inside and breathed. In for 4, hold for 2, out for 6. Her heart still jittered, but not the way it used to. It felt more like stage fright than freefall. Tonight wasn't a class. Tonight was something else. He'd asked a week ago after walking her home from the community centre. They'd stopped outside her door like they always did, trading soft jokes and one slow kiss that left her knees weak and her lungs strangely steady. "I'm taking a group from the centre to the riverfront on Friday," he'd said casually. "Gentle exposure stuff. Some folks have car trauma, bridges, sirens. We go as far as their bodies say yes to, then we stop. No heroics. You don't have to come." She'd known what he was really offering. A way to face the highways she still avoided, the sound of traffic that still pulled her back to the crunch of metal. Her first instinct had been to refuse. Her second had been to say yes before fear could drag her back. Now, standing in her doorway, she almost slammed it shut again. But then she saw him. Malik leaned against the hallway wall, hands in his pockets, head tipped back like he'd been counting ceiling tiles. When he looked up and saw her, his expression shifted. Surprise, then something hotter, softer, like she'd just knocked the air out of him in the best way. "Wow," he said quietly. Heat flooded her cheeks. "Too much?" He pushed off the wall with a slow shake of his head. Not even close. His eyes travelled over her, warm but not greedy. "You look like yourself, turned all the way up." Her heart did a strange little flip. "That's either the best compliment I've ever gotten or the weirdest." "Best," he said. "Definitely best." They took the elevator. She pressed the button with only a faint tremor in her fingers. The metal box hummed around them, but her breath stayed with her. Malik didn't count this time. He just stood close enough that their arms brushed, grounding her. In the car, his car, not hers, not the one that had rolled with her inside, she paused before buckling in. The seatbelt lay across her lap like a live wire. He watched her, hands loose on the steering wheel. "We can take surface streets," he said. "More lights, slower speed. We can also not go. We can go get tacos instead and call it radical self-care." She laughed, tension breaking a little. "You really would do that, wouldn't you?" "Tacos are very healing," he said solemnly, then softer. "But I also think you're ready for more than you think." She slid the belt across her chest, the strap pressing between the curve of her breasts, clicked it into place. Her breath hitched, but it didn't disappear. "Let's go slow," she said, "but let's go." He nodded and pulled away from the curb. The city blurred past in streaks of neon and concrete. With every merge, every upshift in speed, the old memories tried to claw in. The guardrail, the sickening tilt, the smell. Her fingers curled around the fabric of her dress, gripping tight. "Talk to me," Malik said quietly, eyes on the road. "What's your brain telling you?" "That we're going to flip," she said, voice tight. "That any second some idiot'll cut us off and I'll hear that noise again." "And what's your body doing?" "Heart's freaking out, palms are gross, breath is—" She checked, shallow but present. "That's honest," he said. "Okay, you remember the hallway? The elevator?" She nodded. "Same rules," he said. "We don't bully you into calm, we give your fear more information." She let out a shaky breath. "And what's the information?" "That I'm awake," he said. "I'm sober. I'm not scrolling my phone. I'm not minimizing your fear. And that if anything even smells off, I pull over. Non-negotiable." Her throat tightened. "That's a lot." "That's the baseline," he corrected gently. "You deserve at least that much in any car you're in." Silence settled for a few moments, filled only by the low hum of the engine and a faint bass line from the radio. Halfway to the riverfront, they hit a stretch of elevated highway. The guardrail rose beside them, metal glinting in the streetlights. Her chest clamped. "Malik," he was already signalling, sliding into the right lane, easing off the gas. "Got you." By the time he pulled onto the shoulder, her vision had narrowed, but she wasn't gone. Not like before. Her breath came in short bursts. Panic clawed at the back of her throat. He put the car in park and turned to her, keeping his hands on his own knees. "Okay," he said softly. "Talk to me. Right now, what do you need most? Less speed, more space, or my voice?" She squeezed her eyes shut. "Your voice," she whispered. "Please." He exhaled, slow and audible, like a cue. "We're stopped," he said. "Engine's on, but we're not moving. Nobody's going to hit us. We've got flashers ready if we need them. You're buckled, I'm buckled. Look at me if you can." She forced her eyes open. His face filled her world, steady, grounded, all dark eyes and calm lines. "We're going to try a new pattern," he murmured. "In on I am still here. Out on I am safe now." You don't have to say it out loud. Just think it. Ready? She nodded, tears already burning. "In," he said. "Hear it. I am still here." Air slid in, ragged. Images crashed through her mind, upside down, glass raining, her ex's hand shaking her shoulder like she'd fainted for attention. "Out," Malik said. "I am safe now." The words felt like lies. She let them anyway. Again. "In. I am still here." She felt the seat beneath her, the press of the belt over the soft curve of her chest, the warmth of her own skin. Her body, heavier than she remembered, solid in the best way. "Out. I am safe now." Her shoulders dropped a fraction. "You're doing it," he whispered. "That's all you. I'm just narrating." A sob tore out of her. "I hate him," she choked. "My ex, I hate that he walked away like it was nothing and left all of this in me." "I know," Malik said. His voice didn't soften around her ex's role. It went flatter, harder. "He should have held the aftermath with you. He didn't. That's on him, not you." "He told me I was too much," she whispered. "Too sensitive, too dramatic, too big. Said nobody else would ever put up with the panic and the body and the way I take up space." Malik's jaw tightened. For a second his control cracked, and she saw anger there, fierce and protective. "He was wrong," Malik said quietly. "So wrong it's almost impressive." She let out a wet laugh. "Alara, look at me," he said. "You are not too much. You are exactly as much as a whole person is supposed to be. You feel a lot because you survived a lot. And your body?" His gaze flicked over her, hot and reverent. "Your body is not a problem to put up with. It's a place someone should be honored to be invited into." Her breath stuttered. The sincerity in his voice hit her harder than any compliment on her looks ever had. "You really mean that?" she said. "I don't do half-truths," he replied. "They're bad for the lungs." Something inside her cracked open then, not with the violence of a crash, but with the slow give of ice melting. "Can we get out?" she asked, voice small. "I need to see the road, standing up." "Yeah," he said immediately. "Yeah, we can." He killed the engine, checked his mirrors like the careful driver he was, then stepped out. She followed, knees shaking as her feet hit the ground. The guardrail stood a few feet away, unremarkable and monstrous all at once. Cars whizzed by in the distance. The smell of exhaust tugged at old memories. Malik stayed one step behind her, hands visible, not reaching. "I'm here," he said. "You lead. I follow." She walked toward the rail slowly, each breath an act of defiance. Her heart pounded. Her palms sweated, but her feet kept moving. When she reached the metal, she rested her hands on it, fingers curling around the cold surface. "This isn't the exact spot," she murmured, "but it feels the same." "That's enough," he said. Tears blurred her vision. "I thought I died that night," she whispered. "When the car stopped moving, I thought, it's over. I'll never get to finish a breath." Behind her, Malik's voice was rough. "But you did." "I did," she echoed. She closed her eyes. The highway sounds swelled. Then deliberately she layered his voice over them in her mind. In "I am still here," the cool bite of the rail under her palms, the warm ache of her body, not broken but whole. "Out, I am safe now." Her shoulders shook. A sob slipped free, followed by another, until she was crying in great messy waves. She didn't try to stop it. She let it pour out, the fear, the anger, the shame of feeling too much and surviving anyway. She didn't realize she'd leaned back until she felt him. He hadn't moved without asking. She knew that instinctively. He must have taken a half step, then waited. Her body found his like it knew the route, her back brushing his chest, her head tipping toward his shoulder. "Can I hold you?" he asked, voice barely audible over the traffic. "Yes," she whispered. "Please." His arms slid around her, careful but firm, drawing her against the solid line of his body. He held her like the world couldn't knock her down while he stood there. Her soft curves pressed back into his strength, and for once she didn't feel wrong for taking up space. She felt anchored. They stood like that until her sobs faded to shaky breaths. He didn't count for her now. He just breathed with her, his chest rising and falling behind her, a quiet metronome she matched without thinking. When she finally turned in his arms, her face tear-streaked, he cupped her cheeks in his big hands. His thumbs brushed away the dampness, gentler than she thought someone his size could be. "How's your breathing?" he asked. "Messy," she said, voice hoarse. "But mine." His mouth curved, eyes shining. "Yeah," he murmured. "It's yours." The highway roared a few feet away. The guardrail gleamed between them and the drop. Under the orange wash of the streetlights, his skin glowed warm and rich. She caught her reflection in his eyes, tearful, flushed, thick and soft and alive. "Malik?" she said. "Yeah? Can we—" She swallowed. "Can we give this place a different memory too?" His thumb stroked along her jaw, slow. "You sure?" She nodded. "I don't want to only remember dying here. I want to remember this. Choosing to stay. Choosing you." Something broke open in his expression, tenderness flooding every line. "Then yeah," he whispered, "we can." The first brush of his mouth was barely there, more breath than contact. She inhaled anyway, lungs pulling in the scent of him, soap, skin, the faint tang of night air. In. He deepened the kiss gradually, giving her every chance to pull back. His lips moved against hers in that now familiar rhythm, patient and sure, like he was teaching her body a new language, one syllable at a time. Out. Her hands slid up his chest, feeling the steady drum of his heart beneath her palms. She rose onto her toes, pressing closer, her curves moulding to him. He groaned softly, the sound vibrating against her mouth, but he didn't rush, didn't grip. He just held her, one hand at the small of her back, the other cradling her head. Each slow kiss layered itself over the old story of this kind of highway. The crash, the car, the guardrail, new memory, new breath. In, I am still here. His tongue traced the seam of her lips, asking, not taking. She opened to him, letting the kiss deepen, letting her fingers curl into the fabric of his shirt. Heat flared low and deep, but even that felt different, rooted, present, not like a distraction from pain, but a celebration of surviving it. Out, I am safe now. When they finally parted, both breathing hard, foreheads resting together, she laughed, wet, shaky, amazed. "What?" he asked, smiling. "I just realized," she said. "I'm out here on a highway, kissing a man who counts my breaths, and I don't feel like I'm about to die." His smile softened. "High bar," he murmured. "Glad I cleared it." "You did more than clear it," she said. You taught me how to live in my own lungs again." He brushed a strand of hair from her face, fingers lingering. "You did that," he corrected gently. "I just reminded you how." Later, back at their building, she stepped into the elevator alone while he parked. The doors slid shut. The familiar hum began. Panic nudged her ribs but didn't break them. She closed her eyes. In, I am still here. I am safe now. By the time the elevator dinged on her floor, her heartbeat had steadied. She stepped out into the hallway and found Malik leaning against her door, take-out bags in hand, like the universe had given her a bonus. "How was it?" he asked. "I rode up alone," she said, "and I breathed." Pride lit his face. "I knew you would." She walked up to him, heart full, lungs open. "Just so you know," she added, "I can breathe on my own now." "I know," he said softly. "But," she continued, sliding her hands up his chest, "I still want you here, one slow kiss at a time." His answering smile was all the promise she needed. In the quiet hallway where her world had once collapsed, Alara rose into his arms, into his mouth, into the steady rhythm of a life she was finally ready to inhabit. Breath by breath, choice by choice, one slow, patient kiss at a time.